All right, welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive.
Definitely. Always exciting to sift through the information and, see what we can find.
Yeah, absolutely. And today we're getting pretty specific because this one is all about helping you reach your fitness goals.
Exactly. So we've got these three different 6-month workout plans to go through.
Yep, all designed with you in mind.
So you're 1.82 meters tall, weigh 90 kilograms, and you're just starting out on your fitness journey.
Beginner level, right?
That's right.
And what are you hoping to achieve in these 6 months?
Well, the goal is to lose some of that belly fat pack on some noticeable muscle and really just boost your overall fitness and endurance.
Sounds pretty good to me. And we're going to go deep on this reel. We're going to help you understand exactly how to approach this.
That's the plan.
So we've got three main sources we're looking at today.
Right.
Texacol, which we'll call Source 1 Workout 1.pdf or Source 2, and Workout 2.pdf, which is Source 3.
So diving into these sources, what are we looking for?
We want to really unpack the common themes, right? Like, what strategies do all three plans share? What are some of the unique things that each plan brings to the table?
Okay, so common themes, unique approaches.
Yeah, and then what about the nitty-gritty? Like, what kind of nutritional guidance do these plans offer? We want to give you the shortcut to understanding the best way to tackle your fitness journey.
All right, jumping right in, the first thing that really struck me is how all three sources emphasize this idea of phases.
Phases.
Yeah, they all agree that a beginner's 6-month fitness plan works best when it's broken down into distinct phases. You don't just jump into the deep end, you got to ease into it.
Makes sense. Got to build that foundation.
Exactly. So source 1, for example, calls it foundation and adaptation for the first 2 months.
Okay.
And that's all about building endurance, improving your movement, and just being consistent with your workouts.
Start and slow.
Right. 3 full body workout days a week with maybe 2 to 3 sessions of steady state cardio.
And then what comes after that?
Then you move on to months 3 and 4, which they call strength and fat loss acceleration.
So things start ramping up.
Yeah, the focus shifts to increasing strength and the cardio gets a bit more intense.
So what are we looking at workout-wise?
They recommend an upper-lower split 4 days a week with 3 to 4 cardio sessions, mixing things up a bit.
Okay, and then the final phase.
The last 2 months, months 5 and 6, are all about muscle building and advanced conditioning.
Okay, so pushing it to the max.
Exactly. 5 days a week with a push-pull leg split and 4 cardio sessions to really refine everything.
So source 1 is all about gradually increasing the intensity and frequency, right?
Precisely.
Starting slow and building up.
Yep. And you know what? Source 2 takes a really similar approach with their phases, even if they use slightly different terms.
Okay, how so?
So their first phase, which also lasts for 2 months, is called rebuilding your foundation.
So same idea as source 1.
Yeah, the focus is on getting your body used to moving regularly,
Yeah.
establishing a good cardiovascular base.
And how many workouts are we talking?
They stick with 3 full body workouts per week.
Okay, pretty similar so far.
And they even emphasize how important these first 2 months are. They actually say, quote, "The initial 2 months are crucial for reacquainting your body with regular movement and establishing a solid foundation," unquote.
I like that. Really stresses the importance of those early stages.
Absolutely. Now in months 3 and 4, things get a bit more intense. Source 2 calls this phase increasing intensity and building strength.
So upping the ante?
Right. They suggest potentially bumping up the training to 3 or 4 days a week.
Okay, so more frequent workouts.
And this is where they introduce the concept of progressive overload.
Progressive overload, huh? We're going to have to dig into that a bit later.
Definitely a key concept.
Okay, so what about those final 2 months?
Source 2 calls it enhancing muscle growth and fat loss.
So still 3 or 4 days of training?
Yep. They keep the frequency the same, but the focus shifts to refining your workouts and optimizing nutrition for continued progress.
So dialing things in.
Exactly. They say, quote, "Further refining the intensity or volume of your workouts slightly and optimizing your nutrition for sustained progress," unquote.
Okay, I'm liking this focus on refinement.
It's all about making those small adjustments for long-term gains.
Smart. Now, what about source 3? How do they handle the phases?
Source 3 keeps it nice and straightforward. They also have 3 phases.
Okay, let's hear it.
Phase 1, foundation building with full body workouts 3 days a week.
Sounds familiar.
Right. Then phase 2, increased intensity with upper-lower body splits 4 days a week.
Okay, so they follow that same progression.
Yep. And finally, phase 3, advanced progression with push-pulls routine 5 days a week.
So regardless of what they call it, all three sources are on the same page.
Absolutely. They all emphasize that gradual increase in both intensity and frequency.
Building up over time.
Exactly. And it's not just about the structure of the workouts, it's also about the types of exercises and how they change over those 6 months.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. Let's start with those initial months. What kind of exercises are we looking at?
In the beginning, it's all about full body workouts across the board.
Full body makes sense, right? Hit all the major muscle groups.
Yeah, it's a great way to build a solid foundation, and it's less likely to overwork any specific muscle group too early.
Smart. So what are some examples of exercises they recommend for month 1 or phase 1?
Well, Source 1 starts things off with a mix of compound movements like squats, bench press, or push-ups, if you're not quite ready for the bench press yet, and lat pull-downs.
Okay, good mix so far.
Yep, then they add in dumbbell shoulder presses, seated rows, leg presses, and of course, planks for core strength.
Planks are essential.
Absolutely a core foundation.
Love it. What about Source 2? What do they have in store for month 1?
Source 2 actually gives you 2 different full-body routines for Phase 1, Workout A and Workout B.
Okay, so options to choose from.
Exactly. Workout A includes bodyweight squats, push-ups. You can do them on your knees if you need to, dumbbell rows for the back planks, step-ups, and bicycle crunches.
Hitting all the major areas.
Yep, legs, chest, back, core, arms, all covered.
Nice. And they're mainly using body weight and light dumbbells.
Right, starting off light and building from there.
Makes sense. And what about Workout B?
Workout B gets a little fancier. It's got goblet squats, where you hold a light dumbbell close to your chest, incline push-ups to make things a bit easier. Lat pull-downs on a machine with light resistance side planks for those obliques, dumbbell lunges, and tricep dips using a chair or bench.
Okay, so still full body, still focusing on those fundamental movements?
Yep, and still keeping the weights relatively light.
Gotcha. Now on to Source 3. What's their month 1 plan look like?
Source 3 also prioritizes that foundational strength. So they've got bodyweight squats, push-ups, plank, but they also throw in dumbbell Romanian deadlifts.
Okay, targeting those hamstrings and glutes?
Exactly. Plus, they include a light chest press, shoulder press, bicycle crunches, goblet squats, lat pull-downs, dumbbell bench press, and glute bridges.
Lots of overlap with the other sources.
Definitely. They're all emphasizing those essential movements for beginners.
So we see a lot of consistency in those early stages. Now, what happens as we move into the intermediate phase?
Around months 3 and 4, all the plans shift to an upper-lower body split.
Okay, so instead of working the whole body every session.
Right, you dedicate one day to your upper body and another day to your lower body.
And what's the benefit of that?
Well, it allows you to train each muscle group with more intensity, and it gives your muscles more time to recover between workouts.
So you're not overworking any one area.
Exactly. And since you're focusing on specific muscle groups, you can also start to incorporate heavier weights.
Makes sense. So what kind of exercises are we talking about in this phase?
Source 1 gives some great examples. They have an upper body strength day with bench press pull-ups, dumbbell shoulder press, tricep dips, and hanging leg raises.
Solid upper body routine.
And for lower body strength, it's squats, Romanian deadlifts, lunges, seated calf raises, and bicycle crunches.
Okay, hitting all those major leg muscles.
Yep. They even include variations that focus more on muscle growth, like an upper body hypertrophy-focused day and a lower body and HIIT day.
So they're mixing things up a bit.
Exactly, keeping it interesting and challenging.
Now what about Source 2? How does their intermediate phase look?
They get very specific with their month 3 routines. For a lower body, they have barbell back squats, Romanian deadlifts, walking lunges, leg press, and calf raises.
Okay, so introducing the barbell.
Yep, time to lift some heavier weight.
And what about upper body?
For upper body, they recommend incline bench press bent over rows, seated shoulder press lat pull downs, tricep push downs, and bicep curls.
Nice mix of exercises.
It's a comprehensive routine for sure.
In Source 3.
Source 3 follows a very similar pattern. Their month 3 routines are almost identical to Source 2's with lower body exercises like squats, Romanian deadlifts, lunges, leg press, and calf raises, and upper body workouts including incline bench press, bend over rows, shoulder press lat pull downs, tricep push downs, and bicep curls.
Wow, so much consistency between the sources.
Right, it really reinforces that these are the key exercises for this stage.
Solid foundation. All right, so then we move on to the advanced phase, those final 2 months. What changes now?
In the advanced phase, you're ready for the big leagues. It's all about the push-pull-leg split.
Okay, break that down for me.
So instead of upper-lower body, you divide your workouts into 3 categories, push-pull and legs.
So pushes.
Push would be all the exercises where you're pushing weight away from your body.
Okay, like chest presses and shoulder presses.
Exactly. Pull would be exercises where you're pulling weight towards your body.
So like rows and pull-ups.
You got it. And then legs, well, that's all about those leg exercises.
All right, so why this split? What's the benefit?
It allows you to really isolate and target specific muscle groups, which leads to more muscle growth and strength gains.
Okay, so you're hitting each muscle group harder.
Right. And because you're giving each muscle group more rest between workouts, you can really push yourself.
Makes sense.
So,
So give me some examples. What does a push day look like in this phase?
Source One's push day includes bench press, overhead press, tricep dips, cable flies, and hanging leg raises for some extra core work.
Sounds intense.
And their pull day focuses on deadlifts, pull-ups, dumbbell rows, barbell curls, and ab rollouts.
Okay, hitting those back and bicep muscles hard.
And for legs and HIIT, they recommend squats, Romanian deadlifts, leg press, and seat and calf raises.
Plus that high-intensity interval training.
Yep, really getting that heart rate up.
Source One is serious about those final 2 months.
They are. And they even throw in a full body strength plus conditioning day with exercises like the squat to overhead press kettlebell, swings battle ropes, and sled pushes.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a challenging phase for sure.
Now what about Source 2? How did they handle the advanced phase?
Source 2 gets very detailed with their month 5 routines. For push, they have barbell bench press, incline dumbbell press, seated shoulder press, lateral raises, tricep dips, and overhead tricep extensions.
They're not messing around.
Nope, they're really targeting those push muscles. For pull, it's deadlifts, bent over rows, lat pull downs, face, pulls barbell curls, and hammer curls.
Solid pull routine.
And for legs, they recommend barbell back squats, leg press, Romanian deadlifts, leg extensions, leg curls, and standing calf raises.
Hitting those legs from every angle.
Exactly. Now, Source 3's month 5 examples are a bit more concise, but they still follow that push-pull-leg structure.
Okay, how so?
For push, they have barbell bench press and overhead press pull, includes deadlifts and bent over rows, and for legs, it's just squats.
Just squats.
Yep. But remember, at this point, you're lifting some serious weight.
True, true. So all 3 sources are on the same page with that push-pull-leg split.
Yeah, it's a popular and effective approach for advanced training.
Now, you mentioned earlier that Source 2 and Source 3 introduce some more advanced training techniques in these later phases.
Right around month 6, both sources start talking about things like supersets and drop sets.
Okay, so what are those exactly?
Supersets are when you perform 2 exercises back-to-back with little to no rest in between.
So like a chest press immediately followed by a row.
Exactly. It's a great way to increase the intensity of your workouts.
And drop sets.
Drop sets are when you do an exercise until you can't do another rep, then you immediately reduce the weight and keep going.
So you're really pushing your muscles to their limits.
Yep, you're essentially forcing them to adapt and grow.
Okay, so these techniques are designed for those who are really ready to challenge themselves.
Exactly. Not for the faint of heart.
But they can definitely help you break through plateaus. Now, speaking of challenging yourself, we need to talk about progressive overload.
Ah, yes, the holy grail of muscle growth.
Right. You mentioned it earlier, and I know it's a key concept in all 3 plans. So let's bring it down. What is progressive overload exactly?
It's the idea that to keep seeing results, you need to constantly challenge your muscles by gradually increasing the demands you place on them.
So basically, you need to keep pushing yourself harder over time.
Exactly. If you keep doing the same workouts with the same weights, your body will adapt and you'll stop seeing progress.
So how do we apply this principle? How do these plans recommend we approach progressive overload?
Source 1 is very explicit about it. They say, quote, strength training, compound movements with progressive overload, unquote. And they advise you to, quote, adjust weights and reps as strength improves, unquote.
Okay, so pretty straightforward.
Yeah, basically, as you get stronger, you need to either increase the weight you're lifting or the number of reps you're doing.
So always striving to do a little bit more than last time.
Exactly. Now, Source 2 also emphasizes progressive overload. They say, quote, the principle of progressive overload will be introduced in your strength training, unquote.
Okay, so they acknowledge its importance.
Yes, and they even give you a concrete starting point. They suggest increasing the weight you lift by 2.5 to 5 pounds per exercise each week, as long as you can maintain proper form.
Okay, so a nice, manageable increase.
Right. Small steps lead to big gains.
Love that.
Yeah.
Now, Source 3 goes into a lot of detail about progressive overload. They actually have a section called Progressive Overload Strategies.
Oh, yeah, they're very thorough.
Yeah.
They recommend gradually increasing the weight you're lifting. For example, increasing by 2.5 kilograms every 2 weeks.
Okay, so similar to Source 2, but with a slightly longer time frame.
Right. They also suggest increasing the number of repetitions you could do with good form before adding more weight.
So focusing on getting stronger before adding more weight.
Exactly. And they also talk about tempo progression, which is slowing down the movements to make the exercise more challenging.
Interesting. So you could keep the same weight, but make it harder by slowing down the movement.
Exactly. It's a great way to increase the time under tension, which is beneficial for muscle growth.
Okay, so Source 3 gives us a lot of different tools to play with.
They do. They really emphasize that there are multiple ways to approach progressive overload.
So it's not just about adding more weight all the time.
Exactly. You can get creative and find what works best for you.
Great stuff. Okay, so we've covered the phases, we've talked about the exercises, and we've discussed progressive overload. Now, what about cardio? How do these plans incorporate cardio into the mix?
Well, all three sources agree that cardio is essential, especially when your goals include fat loss and improved endurance.
Makes sense. Cardio burns calories and strengthens your heart and lungs.
Exactly. And just like the strength training, the type and intensity of cardio changes as you progress through the phases.
Okay, so how does it start?
In the initial phase, all three plans focus on steady-state cardio,
Steady state meaning.
meaning you maintain a consistent pace for a set period of time.
Okay, so things like brisk walking, cycling on a stationary bike, using the elliptical.
Exactly. Activities that get your heart rate up but don't completely exhaust you.
And how long are we talking?
Sources 1 and 3 recommend aiming for around 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay, a good starting point.
Source 2 starts a bit more conservatively with 15 minutes, which makes sense for someone who's brand new to exercise.
Yeah, ease into it, and then as you get fitter.
As you progress into the later phases, they start to introduce high-intensity interval training, or HIIT.
Okay, HIT, I've heard of that. What is it exactly?
It's basically alternating between short bursts of intense exercise and periods of rest or low-intensity activity.
So like sprinting for 30 seconds, then walking for a minute.
Exactly. It's a very effective way to burn calories and improve your cardiovascular fitness.
And it's more time efficient than steady state cardio.
Right, you can get a great workout in a shorter amount of time.
So how do the plans recommend we incorporate HIT?
Sources 1 and 3 specifically mention incorporating HIIT, often alternating it with those steady-state sessions.
Mixing it up.
Yep, and they generally recommend increasing the duration and frequency of cardio as you get fitter. Source 1, for example, suggests up to 4 cardio sessions per week in those later phases.
Okay, so really ramping things up.
Yeah, but it's a gradual progression, so it's not overwhelming.
What about Source 2? How do they handle cardio in the later phases?
Source 2 advises increasing either the duration or frequency of your cardio workouts as you progress through the program. They don't get as specific as the other sources, but they still emphasize the importance of increasing the challenge.
Okay, so giving you some flexibility.
Exactly. And Source 3 actually provides a specific example of a HIE protocol. 30 seconds of intense activity, followed by 90 seconds of recovery.
Okay, so that's a good starting point for anyone who wants to try HIIT.
Definitely a guideline.
All right, so we've got strength training, we've got cardio. Now we have to talk about rest and recovery, because you can't just go hard all the time, right?
Absolutely. Rest and recovery are just as important as the workouts themselves.
Why is that?
Well, when you work out, you're actually breaking down muscle tissue.
Really?
Yeah, it's micro tears in the muscle fibers.
Okay. And then what?
And then when you rest, your body repairs those tears and rebuilds the muscles stronger than before.
So rest is when the magic happens.
Exactly. If you don't give your body enough rest, you're not going to see the results you're working for, and you're more likely to get injured.
So how much rest do we need? What do these plans recommend?
Source 1 highlights the importance of active recovery days, stretching, and mobility work.
Active recovery meaning?
Doing light activities like walking, swimming, or gentle yoga to promote blood flow and recovery.
Okay, so not just sitting on the couch all day.
Right. Being active but not pushing yourself too hard.
Got it. And they also emphasize sleep, right?
Yes. They say prioritize 7 to 9 hours of sleep for optimal muscle recovery.
So sleep is crucial.
Absolutely. It's when your body does most of its repairing and rebuilding.
Okay, what about Source 2? What do they say about rest?
Source 2 is on the same page. They actually say, quote, rest is not just about taking time off. It is a critical component of muscle repair and growth. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night, unquote.
I like that quote. Really stresses how important rest is.
And they also suggest doing light walking or stretching on your off days as forms of active recovery.
Similar to Source 1.
Yep. Source 3 actually gives a more detailed list of recovery strategies.
Okay, let's hear it.
They recommend scheduling full rest days between your training sessions.
So taking a day completely off.
Right. They also say to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, and they suggest various active recovery options like Walking, swimming, yoga, foam rolling, and stretching.
Foam rolling is great for working out those knots.
It is. And source 2 also mentions incorporating foam rolling and stretching in phase 2.
Okay, so both sources recommend adding those in as you get further along in the program.
Yep. And source 3 even introduces the concept of deload weeks in phase 3.
Deload weeks, what are those?
It's basically a planned week of lighter training where you reduce the weight you're lifting and the intensity of your workouts.
So a chance for your body to fully recover.
Exactly. It's a great way to prevent burnout and reduce the risk of injury.
Smart. Okay, so we've covered training, cardio, and recovery. Now let's talk fuel. What did these plans say about nutrition?
Well, all three sources emphasize the importance of a well-balanced diet that's rich in protein.
Protein is key for muscle growth.
Exactly. Protein provides the building blocks for muscle repair and growth.
So how much protein are we talking?
Source 1 recommends consuming between 1.6 and 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight each day.
Okay, so a pretty specific range.
Yep. Source 2 suggests a slightly broader range of 1.2 to 2.0 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily.
Okay, so a little more wiggle room.
And source 3 falls somewhere in between, recommending 1.6 to 2.0 grams of protein per kilogram, which they calculate to be roughly 144 to 180 grams of protein per day for someone weighing 90 kilograms.
So that's you.
That's right.
All right, so protein is clearly a priority. But what about overall calories? Do these plans talk about calorie intake?
They do, especially when it comes to fat loss. Because to lose fat, you need to create a calorie deficit.
Meaning you need to burn more calories than you consume.
Exactly. Source 1 suggests aiming for a slight deficit of around 200 to 500 calories below your estimated maintenance level.
Okay, so not a drastic cut.
Right. You want to create a sustainable deficit, not starve yourself.
Makes sense. What about source 3?
Source 3 gets more specific. They recommend a moderate deficit of approximately 500 calories below your maintenance, suggesting an initial daily intake of 2,300 to 2,500 calories for you.
Okay, a bit more concrete.
Yep. Source 2 also advises being mindful of your overall calorie intake and recognizing that you might need to create a slight deficit to see those fat loss results.
So they're all on the same page about the importance of calories.
Definitely. But it's not just about calories and protein. They also emphasize the importance of nutrient quality and hydration.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly?
It means focusing on whole, unprocessed foods and drinking plenty of water.
So basically eating real food and staying hydrated.
Exactly. Source 1 recommends including plenty of whole grains, a variety of vegetables, nuts, and healthy oils in your diet, and advises drinking at least 2 to 3 liters of water each day.
Okay, solid advice.
Source 2 keeps it simple. They say to focus on simple, unprocessed, healthy foods with an emphasis on lean protein sources like fish, eggs, and legumes.
Okay, so quality protein sources.
Yep. And source 3 also stresses the importance of complex carbohydrates like whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, and healthy fats from sources like avocados, nuts, olive oil, and fatty fish.
Okay, so a balanced and varied diet.
Right. And they recommend aiming for at least 3 liters of water per day.
Okay, so staying well hydrated.
Absolutely. And interestingly, source 3 also mentions the potential benefits of intermittent fasting.
Oh yeah, that's become quite popular.
It has. And while it's not for everyone, it can be a helpful tool for some people to manage their calorie intake.
Interesting. And source 2 has a little tip about nutrient timing.
Right. They suggest timing your higher carbohydrate intake around your workout sessions to fuel your activity and consuming protein before bed to support overnight muscle recovery.
Okay, so being strategic about when you eat certain foods.
Exactly. It's not just what you eat, but when you eat it.
Great advice. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways? What have we learned from these 3 workout plans?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that all 3 sources offer comprehensive and well-structured 6-month progressive plans.
Specifically designed for a beginner like you.
Right. They're all geared towards helping you lose belly fat, build muscle, and improve your overall fitness.
And they're based on the same fundamental principles.
Absolutely. They all emphasize a gradual and phased approach to training the importance of progressive overload for continued progress, the integration of cardio, the crucial role of rest and recovery, and a focus on a nutrient-dense, protein-rich diet.
So even though they differ in some of the specifics like the exact exercises or the level of detail they provide, the overarching strategy is remarkably consistent.
Which should give you confidence that you're on the right track no matter which plan you choose.
Exactly. You can't go wrong with any of these plans as long as you follow the core principles.
And that brings us to the most important point: consistency, proper form, and listening to your body.
Okay, break that down for me.
Consistency means sticking to your workout schedule and your nutrition plan as much as possible.
So making it a habit.
Right. Proper form means performing the exercises correctly to avoid injury.
So watching those tutorial videos and making sure you're doing it right.
Exactly. And listening to your body means paying attention to any aches, pains, or fatigue and adjusting your workouts as needed.
So not pushing through pain.
Right. It's okay to take a rest day or modify an exercise if you need to.
These plans are a roadmap, but ultimately you need to listen to your body.
Absolutely. It's your journey.
I like that. Okay, so as you process all this information, here's a final thought to chew on.
All right, I'm listening.
All three plans emphasize this idea of a gradual and consistent commitment over a significant period, 6 months in this case.
All right. Slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly. It highlights the fact that real sustainable fitness results aren't about quick fixes or magic solutions.
It's about making a commitment to yourself and putting in the work day after day, week after week.
It's a lifestyle change.
Precisely. So my question to you is, what small, consistent action can you commit to taking today to start building that foundation for lasting success?
That's a great question to ponder. We'll leave you with that.
Until next time.
Keep diving.